In the soft glow of a late afternoon sun, the cul-de-sac of Willow Grove, a tidy suburban pocket in Oregon, looked like a postcard. Perfectly trimmed lawns stretched out like green carpets, driveways gleamed, and American flags waved lazily in the breeze. Porch chairs sat empty, as if their owners had just ducked inside for a glass of iced tea. But beneath this polished surface, a quiet tension hummed, not the kind that exploded in shouts or shattered glass, but the kind that lived in sidelong glances, clipped hellos, and cars lingering a beat too long in front of certain houses. At the edge of this pristine world lived Emily Harper, a woman who knew better than most that calm didn't always mean peace. Emily had moved to Willow Grove 3 years ago, after her husband, Tom, a fire captain with 2 decades of service, died suddenly. Not in a roaring inferno, but from a stroke, collapsing in the station locker room after checking a family smoke alarms. The cruel irony still stung Tom, who'd once carried 2 kids out of a burning building, taken down by a routine day. Grief had left Emily in a fog, forcing her to sell their old home, too full of memories she couldn't face daily. Willow Grove hadn't been her first choice. The houses felt too cookie-cutter, the trees too young to cast real shade, and the HOA rules were thicker than a phone book. But something about the place, maybe its promise of safety, maybe its anonymity, drew her in. She could start fresh here, free from the weight of a folded flag and Tom's empty boots trailing her every step. She picked the corner lot, right beside the fire access lane, a narrow strip of asphalt marked with bold red and white signs. Emergency access only, and no parking. Tom would have nodded approvingly. Seconds matter, he'd always said. Access is everything. In quiet moments, early mornings with coffee, or dusk with a mug of chamomile, Emily walked along that lane, feeling an odd comfort in its stark purpose. It wasn't a place for strolls or bike rides. It was a lifeline, a boundary between her new life and the one she'd lost. Most neighbors, though, barely noticed unless it got in the way of their plans. Enter Laura Bennett, who'd blown into Willow Grove a year ago like a storm in stilettos. With her designer handbags, endless home renovations, and a voice that carried across 3 yards, Laura didn't blend and she demanded attention. She was all teeth in her smiles, her words dripping with a performative edge, like she was auditioning for a reality show no one else knew was filming. From day one, she hosted events, small wine nights that grew into charity luncheons, then full-blown bashes with live bands and caterers. She wasn't elected to anything, but she'd wormed her way into the neighborhood's power clique, the kind that decided who got a nod at the mailbox and who got a cold shoulder. Laura didn't charm, she controlled. She asked for favors like she was doing Saw You Saw One, and when she wanted something, it just saw. Emily kept her distance. She'd politely decline Laura's glittery in tatines, tending to her garden and her routines, but Laura's presence was impossible to ignore. Her parties spilled over with fairy lights and imported cheeses. Her landscaping grew more extravagant by the week, and her voice, sweet but sharp, drifted over fences, barking orders to gardeners or plotting her next HOA coup. Things came to a head one June morning when Emily, watering her roses, spotted workers unloading iron arches and metal poles onto the fire lane. She thought it was a mix-up, but a worker, glancing at his clipboard, said flatly, "Event set up for Ms. Bennett's garden gala." That night, Emily sat on her porch, watching tents rise under construction lights. A stage appeared, flanked by planters and tables bolted into the pavement trite across the fire lane. Her stomach twisted. She'd seen too many stories from Tom about blocked exits costing lives. She didn't yell or march over to Laura's. That wasn't her style. But when a flyer hit every doorstep the next day, saw garden gala under the stars, live jazz, curated wines, parking in the emergency lane for overflow, saw Emily read it 3 times. The word saw emergency, saw burning like a cinder. She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she sat at her desk, staring at a photo of Tom in his gear, grinning beside a fire truck. By dawn, she'd made up her mind. She wasn't fighting for drama or clout. She was fighting because she'd sworn at Tom's funeral never to ignore a risk that could steal a life. She called the fire marshal's office, voice steady, laying out the facts, address, setup, dates, the flyer's parking instructions. She ended with, if someone needs help Saturday, they won't get it in time. Then she waited. The gala morning was eerily quiet. Tents bloomed with white linens and calligraphy place cards. Waiters bustled, and a string quartet tuned up. The fire lane was gone, swallowed by Laura's VY shout of elegance. Emily watched from her window, unseen, her heart heavy but resolute. At 6:04 p.m., sirens broke the jazz. An ambulance turned into the cul-de-sac, lights flashing, only to stop dead at the blockade. Tires crunched gravel. A driver shouted, "Move the damn tables." Guests froze, glasses clinking awkwardly. Emily stood at her property line, arms crossed, her face a mask of grim certainty. She'd been right to speak up. The paramedics, faces tight, grabbed their bags and sprinted toward Harold, a neighbor in his 60s who collapsed in his kitchen. His daughter, VY sighting from out of town, stood by the ambulance, trembling, clutching her phone as the crowd parted clumsily, unsure whether to help or flee. The lane was a maze of bolted tables, rose-covered trellises, and a cocktail bar. The paramedics didn't weigh, they ran, one already glow VYing up. Emily knew that sprint too well from Tom's stories, racing a clock that didn't care about good intentions. When they returned with Harold, unconscious but stabilized on a gurney, Laura was near the tents, lips MOVYing in frantic excuses, while VYing off caterers, more worried about her party's optics than the man fighting for his life. A paramedic's sharp step aside silenced her. Emily said nothing. She didn't need to. The delay was noted, a report would be filed, and Laura's charm couldn't undo what had happened. The party limped on, the music softer, the toasts hollow. Laura rallied with a speech about community spirit, but Emily, now inside, locked her door, feeling the same hollow ache she'd felt watching a fire's aftermath. The real fallout came later. The neighborhood turned on itself, whispers replacing waves. Two families who'd left the gala early stopped acknowledging Emily. Laura's allies watched her house like hawks. But Emily didn't guess or gossip, she acted. She sent a letter to the fire marshal, precise and factual, with photos of the tents and signage. She drove it to the station herself, telling no one. 3 days later, a city SUV rolled in. A uniformed man walked the fire lane, snapping pictures. Laura stood on her driveway, arms crossed, her usual poise cracking. That evening, another car arrived from the safety committee. A stark notice hit every door. Saw public safety violation. Unauthorized obstruction of emergency access saw. No names, but everyone knew. Laura's decorations vanished overnight, but the storm was just beginning. The fire chief's assistant called Emily, thanking her for the report. The HOA faced a DULA $25,000 fine, and Laura had dragged them all into her mess. Laura fought back, not with apologies, but with manipulation. She went door to door, clipboard in hand, spinning the fine as a misunderstanding, blaming vague signage or overzealous officials. She never named Emily, but her words hung heavy, implying a bitter troublemaker. Soon, Emily's trash can was tipped over, packages went missing, and anonymous HOA complaints piled up. Her hedges were too long, her porch light too bright. It was a calculated siege designed to isolate and exhaust. But Emily, who'd survived losing Tom, wasn't fazed. She documented everything: photos, emails, timestamps in a folder marked "Saw Incident Saw." Then came a yellow envelope on her door, accusing her of creating a hostile environment. It was signed pure intimidation. Emily's resolve hardened. She called Claire, a sharp attorney she'd met at a town hall. Claire listened to the timeline blockage, fine, harassment, and asked, quiet or public pushback? Emily chose quiet for now. She installed a security camera, updated delivery instructions, and rebutted every HOA complaint with EVY Denke. Laura doubled down, hosting unity events and a newsletter praising shared values, while slyly jabbing at those who used tragedy for personal gain. The breaking point came when a city inspector, prompted by an anonymous tip, claimed Emily's lilies encroached on public land. She showed him her plat map, and he left with a wry, "Someone's wasting our time." That evening, Harold's daughter dropped off a thank you card. "Dad's recovering," she said. "Because of you." It wasn't flattery, it was proof Emily's instincts were right. A neighbor, an older man who rarely spoke, warned her, "They won't stop until you humiliate them. Be ready." That night, Emily and Claire planned their next move. Escalation, not retaliation. Claire drafted a formal complaint to the county, detailing Laura's violations and the retaliation. Certified mail underscored its weight. Official vehicles began circling, inspectors marking the fire lane. Laura's confidence frayed. She paced her porch, ignored by officials. Claire froze the HOA's ability to rewrite rules, boxing Laura in. A neighbor, Charles, called Emily, admitting, "I saw the ambulance stuck. I stayed quiet too long. This isn't right." The tide was turning. People were picking sides, not for politics, but because neutrality was crumbling. The county scheduled a hearing, listing Emily as complainant and Laura as respondent for endangering public safety. Laura's lawyer sent a bullying letter, accusing Emily of defamation and threatening a countersuit. Emily forwarded it to Claire, who called it theater. Laura's flyers grew vicious, painting Emily as an unhinged widow. Then Emily's garden was vandalized, flowers crushed, fence toppled. The police logged it, but Claire urged more photos, more timestamps. A late-night call from a distorted voice warned, "Back down, or you'll wish you had." Emily reported it, requesting hearing security. The hearing was stark, procedural. Emily testified calmly, recounting the blocked lane, the paramedic sprint, the cost of negligence. Witnesses backed her. An inspector confirmed no permits. A fire official called the blockage unprecedented, and Harold's daughter choked up describing the ambulance's delay. Laura denied intent, blamed her team, and dodged questions about retaliation. The officer's blunt, "Ignorance isn't a defense," landed like a gavel. 5 days later, the ruling came. Laura was liable. The DULA $25,000 fine stood, and her HOA roll was under REVYEW. No appeal. Willow Grove fractured quietly. Laura's influence collapsed. Her newsletter stopped. Her lawn grew unkempt. Neighbors began nodding to Emily, some Leah VYing small gestures, muffins, a thank you note. The fire lane stayed clear, a new sign gleaming. Saw emergency access, do not block saw. A placard honored, "Those who protect what we take for granted." Emily didn't celebrate. She gardened, walked the lane, and framed a fire department letter beside Tom's photo. Peace, hard-earned, settled in her bones. But the story lingers. Was Emily a hero or a troublemaker? Did Laura deserve her fall? Or was she unfairly targeted? Should neighbors have spoken up sooner? Or was their silence just human? Share your thoughts below, comment, like, and subscribe to join the conversation.